Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Inner Excursions. My name is Heather Quick, and I'm here with Stacy Katz. Hi, Stacy.
Hello, Heather. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome.
So today we're going to talk a bit about time. And Stacy, do you have a little story to lead us into
What
about?
story don't I have? I've always sort of labeled myself as impatient. And I don't know if anybody can relate, but like, even when I'm killing it, it's like, oh, that feels like the goalpost moved and I'm not where I want to be yet. And it's not
Yeah.
happening fast enough. And this pressure, and it also just with social media, this comparison game. Like, even if I'm starting something brand new, I'm looking at somebody who's been doing it for 3 years and I'm just not there yet, right? And it's so freaking disempowering.
Yeah.
And I work with a master coach that Heather and I both have learned from and adore at JP Morgan, and was talking to him yesterday. All things happen in mastery and in the alchemy between two people when you take your limiting beliefs and speak them, and somebody else,
Yeah.
hey, really? Because I don't see it that way, and that's not true. So I was coming back from this amazing workshop on telling your powerful story, which is something that I help my clients do. And I was just saying, I just want my video out and I want my course to be up. Not there yet. And I'm just impatient. And he said, what if impatience is just a misperception, right? What if that's not true? What if that's not a fact, and that's a delusion and a misperception that you're behind, I'm behind? Could you be delusional in the other direction, which I love? And I'm
Heck
like,
yeah.
oh, you mean I am exactly on time? Better yet, I'm ahead of time. Like, I'm killing it. And I was like, wow, I'm the Formula One of growth and learning. Like, nobody gets there faster than I do.
Right.
And I was like, and in there's truth that like
Yeah.
aligns with me. Like, nobody grows faster and more hardcore than I do and goes for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And all of that I'm behind just sort of got exploded and dissipated. And now I'm just waking up going, I am ahead. I'm ahead. What if
Yeah.
we're not? I have plenty of time. I'm ahead. Like, how radically different your internal experiences, and then how you relate to yourself and others as you go through your day and what you're creating. Like, so much more power is available.
Right.
So that was my like,
Yes.
wanted to share with everybody because it's available for all of us.
Beautiful, beautiful story about how, well, we're creating everything, but just on this topic, we're creating our perception of time all the time. Like, we're never not creating it. Whatever words we're putting on how much time we have, how much time we don't have, how we're using our time. I have a phrase that I um have been looking to, every time it comes up, I notice it and say, nope. I'm worried about wasting time. Wasting time, wasting
Wasting
time.
time. Yes, that's
Right.
another.
So I decided that's not a real thing. Like, whatever I'm doing is what I'm doing. There's no like bucket over here where time goes to a good cause and bucket over here where it's like wasted. Like, that's my life. My life, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm looking, I'm seeing, I'm hearing, I'm learning. My life is not a waste, no matter what I'm doing or not doing, or how I'm being or how I'm not being. Not a place I love to play. A place I do love to play is deciding that I love how much time I have. Like, what if I looked at the human experience and say I have 80 years, say I have 60 years, whatever my lifespan is, right? If I'm going to love myself, if I've decided to be someone that loves himself, then I'm going to love my body. I'm going to love my mind. I'm going to love my family. I'm going to love all the parts of my life, including whatever my lifespan is, right? If I'm going to love the world that I live in, there's 24 hours in a day. That's made up too, right? We made up 24. But, right, this is how long a day is, right? This is how long a morning is. This is whatever it is. This is how long a month is. This is how long a year is. How about that's just how things are? And I can look at it and complain about it and feel victim to it, or I can look at it and love it. And when I look at it and complain about it and I'm victim to it, I get a certain experience and I think things like I'm wasting time, I'm behind, right? I start to judge myself. But when I look at it, I'm like, man, I get 365 days this year. Whoa. What if I loved that? Loved it for the abundance, but also for the limit,
Yeah.
right? I love that I have so many days and I love that they're not unlimited, right? How can I love what happens to me and my choices and my experience of life when I stand right there, right? When I love what is here, the limit of it and the abundance of it. And my funny story about time is that I was kind of waking up to like time is made up kind of thing. And, time wasn't even in the mass understanding, as in time as in the clock, like hours on a clock, was not in the mainstream understanding until trains became popular and everyone had to be at the train station by a certain time in order to get on the train. Like there was now a schedule.
On the
Before
train.
that, yeah, before that, it would be like, see you in the morning, see you in the afternoon. Right. I learned this at the train station. So near my house, this like little train museum was explaining that people spoke about time differently, people related to time differently. It was much more like see you next week, right? There weren't even any like most people didn't have, telephones or anything to like communicate clearly about time, right? When you'll be there, when you won't be there. So a lot of things were spontaneous or you just show up when you show up. So now, yeah, we just live in this whole schematic of what time is. And I got really clear a few years ago how made up it was. And at the time I had 3 kids. One was like a baby. And so I was home with the baby, but I was watching other kids at my house. That was my
Sure.
lifestyle at the time. Yeah. And it was the same summer, I think, that I went barefoot all summer. I was like, well, what if just at like around my house in my yard, I was like, what if I just didn't wear shoes all summer? And so I did that, but I
Yeah.
also made it a point to not look at the clock. So I'd get up in the morning whenever I got up. I didn't have, so I guess sometimes I had places to be, but most of the time I would get up and it's, feed the baby, feed the kids, do whatever, right? Put some music on. Kids show up to my house when they show up. What does it matter if it's in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, really? Right? The car drives up the driveway, out comes the kid. Hey, time to play. They go play with my kids. And I would be in the yard with the kids for the whole morning, the whole day. And I would do projects and play with them and whatever else I sat in the hammock, whatever else I was doing. And people would drive up and pick up their kids when they came. Now there was an agreement 3 o'clock or whatever, but just for that whole summer, I was like, I don't want to know. I want to feel what it feels like to not orient myself to hours all day long. And I don't even know if it was like freeing or liberating. It just felt like my life was a vacation.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was working, I was getting paid, I was improving my yard. You know what I mean? It's like I was definitely not less productive because I didn't know what hour it was, what
Yeah.
minute it was. We ate when we were hungry, right? We even kind of got a sense of what time it was by the sun in the sky, right? Like I get like, it's the afternoon now. I don't have to have a clock tell me that. I can sense it just from nature. So I love this time abundance idea, but I also just love the idea, like remembering that it's made up and I can have a sense about my life, right? About the passage of moments, right? Without even orienting it to the clock.
That's so powerful. And and I'm just hearing that there's people who work in corporate America who have Zooms and meetings and who are like,
Yes.
well, how can I incorporate that into my life? And I think just going back to the um I'm on time, time works for me, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and because my son is a beautiful procrastinator and I like to be ahead.
Yeah.
And he has time blindness, right?
Oh,
And it's really a thing in our home where, when he's in the shower, it could be an hour if I'm not like, We
Time to
got to
go.
get
Yeah.
up for your job, so it's something that's just a constant unfolding and a dance.
Yeah.
And this, when I tell myself, we're on time, we're ahead, it also helps in the energy of getting ready,
Yeah.
right? So instead of me like, oh my God, you've been in there for 45 minutes and you haven't, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, we're exactly where we need to be. And it's time to just unfold to the next stage. But there's a way I am with myself. There's a way I am then I am with him, as opposed to like frantic and stressed,
Right.
banging on the door, going, ooh, how many, instead of like, hey, I'm calm. I'm
Yes.
calm and gentle, and it's coming from an empowered place. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that we can, because I also have a story that I'm working with where when people are late to Zooms, like I'm like, that's disrespectful, right?
Right.
It's not an empowering story to have.
Yes.
And so, right? So it's like, okay, well, not everybody has the same relationship to time. And also, if everything is unfolding perfectly and I'm ahead, if somebody shows up 10 minutes late, I'm not in a panic
Right.
because I'm
Right.
already ahead.
Right.
Right. And we can still create agreements that, like, let's agree that everybody's time is valuable and everybody has places, and for moving lots of people around, time schedules, and when you get from place, like all of that is valid. And
Yes.
how I'm being with myself and my story about time, where I'm on time, I'm ahead. I'm Formula One, so I even if things are delayed, I catch up super fast because I'm speedy, and it's
Yes.
right. It's just like, oh, this experience of like empowerment. Really, it's empowered. It's
Yeah.
empowered. This is working for me. A delusion.
The delusion. Yes. Yes. If we're
Right?
going to have a story, if we're going to
Yeah,
create something, let's create something that works for us.
correct.
Yeah. So, right, there's this like pendulum. So one end of the pendulum was Heather in the summer, not looking at the clock all day long, right? The other edge of the pendulum in personal development land, we can get to a place, and I get that that's functionality in corporate world and how useful it is to have your time integrity be so on point, right? I do this, and how beautiful it is to have a relationship with yourself where you keep your word to yourself, where you say, I'm going to be there at noon and then I'm going to do it, right? What I'm not interested in, or what, when it gets for me to be not useful, is then when I have shame, when I don't, right, keep the agreement to the T that I, intended to. And so I love to like be, I can play on any edge of this pendulum swing, right? And because I can play on both edges, I can be anywhere on it without shame, right? That to me, what's the most important, because I care about my personal experience more than anything else. Because if my personal experience is primary, then, and that creates my being, right? And my being is spreading out into the world all the time. And my number one commitment is to make the next moment more beautiful than this one, right? So, yes, today I came 2 minutes late to this Zoom call with Stacy. And so I said, oh man, I'm sorry I was late. She says, no worries, I was late too, right? We both had our 2 minutes. So because I showed up without shame, I was able to just like relate in a beautiful way. And Stacy showed up without shame, and she was able to relate to me in a beautiful way. And off we went, right? Nobody judged each other. We're just off to do, our fun, beautiful podcast recording stuff. So that's that's what I'm most interested in. What relationship can I have with time that, like you said, will empower me instead of taking me down the shame spiral and limit the possibilities of beauty in the next moment?
Yeah. So everybody share in the comments. How has this conversation shifted? What beautiful delusion, what empowering creation can shift your relationship to time? We would love to hear everybody's perspectives, because this is an ongoing development and an ongoing journey. And on that note, we're flowing into our next creations. And we're so grateful for this time with you, Heather, with everybody who's, participated, and just sending you ease and grace as you create time that works for you through your day and your life.
Thank you, Stacy. Love you and everyone else so much. Mwah.
All right. See you on the next episode of Inner Excursions.